We will now add our first image, and we have a couple of options. The easy approach is simply find one of your images, select and drag your image into your Photoshop document, and right up here in the control area you'll see a check mark, and what we're going to do is commit the transformation or adding this image. And every time you make a change or a transformation, move, scale, rotate, whatever, you have to commit that transformation. So just keep that in mind. Every time you do something, either press enter or return, depending on the operating system you're using, or just click the little check. So I'm going to click on the check, and you will notice right down here we have a layer added for this image specifically. So every time we add an image, or every time we add something, import something, that something becomes a layer. And now you'll see this little icon right here. By default, the elements are going to be, the images are going to be added as smart objects. Smart objects are a way of tracking the content outside of Photoshop. So if you were to make a change to the file outside of Photoshop, those changes should show up inside of the Photoshop document because they're linked. Okay? Now, I'm also going to point out that if in Photoshop, if we take a look at our preferences, and I'll just go to General, that the defaults usually, if we take a look here, you'll see there's a check on resize image during place. Now depending, and then it's always create smart objects when placing. So you can change these if you like. And then I encourage you to go through the various categories and just become acquainted with them. Okay? So you might want to check these out on your own. So I'm going to go ahead and click OK. And what I'm going to leave this as a smart object for the moment, but I want to edit. We're going to edit this soon enough, so we'll change it when we need to. All right. So first thing, what we're going to look at is we're going to go up to the image menu, and we're going to go down to image size. And what we're going to do is quickly take a look at the width and height, in this case in pixels, because we set our units to pixels, of our entire canvas. Okay, so this is the entire canvas. And you'll notice that the resolution is 300. Okay, which means the image we've placed is now at 300, in this case, pixels per inch. Okay, so I'm going to click OK, and what we're going to do, I'm on a Mac, I'm using a Mac, so if I open this image in the preview program on a Mac, now this is going to be different for people using a PC, but you're still going to get the idea. And that is, if I go to the tools and I adjust the size, we will see that this image specifically is a resolution of 96 pixels in an inch. All right. Now, you'll likely hear me throughout the class make mention to 72 pixels in an inch. And there was a time, not long ago, that there were in fact 72 pixels in an inch. But devices continue to change. Resolutions continue to change. Density of devices continue to change. That being said, 96 pixels in an inch, and that is usually horizontally and vertically, because in this case our pixels are square. So they're now 96 pixels typically in an inch on modern devices, on modern screens. Okay, but there's a lot more to that, and I encourage you to read the images mini lecture, which will go into more specifics. All right, so I'm just pointing out that this image is 96 on the resolution as an image. going to go ahead and close this. But in Photoshop, if we look at our image size, and this is our document, and that means this image is part of our document, the resolution is now 300. The image has been changed to 300, which is fine for working. Matter of fact, as I've mentioned before, we're going to work in the RGB color mode, which is the native mode for our screen, okay? And we're going to work at a higher resolution. That should keep a higher level of quality because there's going to be more digital information, if you will. And then when we export, the export process will sample down or res down our image to be that of which is appropriate for our device. All right, so we're going to click OK. We could have also file embedded our image, which would actually embed the image and not link the image. We could also place linked, which in fact would link to our image, which means all of our files would need our Photoshop files, the files we're bringing in, they all need to stay in the same place. Okay. Now, in our case here, we just drug our image in, we committed the transformation, we now have a smart object. So if I right click, now I'm not always going to be able to see everything in here, but you're going to have to trust me, down this menu is the ability to rasterize this layer. But what we'll do instead with this layer selected is we will go up to the layer menu and we can go down to smart objects. Make sure I stay on this option. So smart objects. And again, you're going to have to trust me, but at the very bottom is rasterize. So if I go down to the bottom here, you will see rasterize. Or I could just come over here, rasterize, and rasterize the smart object. I could rasterize the layer. Multiple ways to do the same thing. So I'm just going to rasterize the smart object, and you'll notice that that little icon has gone away. So now this is an embedded image, this is part of the document, and we are ready to begin edits and or modifications.